Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, then you've probably seen me doing a lot of Veritas content recently. And especially if you're a newer player, you might be wondering why I'm so fascinated in these characters and maybe if you should be too. Because, personally, I think that these are great characters for literally everyone playing the game. Unless you are the whaliest of whales, there is almost certainly a place for a Veritas on one of your teams, or you could build a team with a place for one of the Veritas on it. Why are the Veritas units so good? Well, that's a question I can answer a number of different ways. For one, check out this chart. This is how many shards it takes to build gacha units versus Veritas units. So while it may seem like it's a slow grind and you have to put in effort in a certain area of the game for months in order to build these characters, and it's certainly not as fast as building a character on Banner or getting them at 99 and building them up and all that stuff, but the cool thing about Veritas units is that, especially compared to building or slow building a normal UR unit, you can do this a lot faster and deceptively fast. And I think this chart really breaks down why. Now, I've color-coded each of the segments respective to the type of unit. Green is the part that takes the least amount of shards, and for both, that's the transition from 120 to 140, which only takes 120 shards. This is also the only square that doesn't represent 100 shards, so you can see that the second most cost-intensive part for a normal unit is getting it to level 99, whereas the most cost-intensive part is reincarnating it. In fact, the halfway point for a normal UR unit is actually 10 reincarnations, because the other 70 or more are going to take even more resources than that first 140 levels and 10 reincarnations. For Veritas, the midpoint is a lot different. The hardest part is actually getting them from level 1 to 99. The second hardest part is getting them to level 120. Of course, it's easiest to get them to level 140, but only the second hardest part. With only 200 shards, this is twice as easy as getting them from level 99 to 120 as taking them from 140 the first time to full reincarnation status. And the midpoint for these units for building them is just a little bit after you've unlocked level 107 or so. So these characters do take a while to build up into a point where they're good and usable. But after that point, they accelerate rapidly into their max stats. And, maybe looking at full reincarnation is a weird way to go because a lot of people never achieve this with most of their units, especially free-to-play characters. But it's very, 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 very doable with any of the Veritas units that you manage to get into a playable state to easily then take them from playable to fully reincarnated and fully powerful. They're also non-gacha units, which means that you are not going to have to pull for them. I've always been a big fan of including some sort of free units in your team. I think that's just the easiest way to build a modernized team, either for existing players that already have some characters that might be able to build into a team with a free unit, but also for newer players who need that third unit for their team. And usually the best of these is going to be a free collaboration character. Now, these are limited, so these aren't always available for you, and which one you're building your team around really depends on when you come into the game. Because a lot of the other non-gacha units haven't been that great. The select quest units are not only hard to build and kind of resource intensive to even unlock, but they've never really been all that competitive. A couple of them have been, maybe Minwoo for a little while, but really they fell out. And their upgrades haven't quite kept them up there, but also their upgrades are even harder to unlock. Very difficult, especially for a new account. Veritas of the Heavens actually has some of the same problems. He's easy to build at first because all of his initial shards to get him to like level 99, maybe even higher, maybe even halfway, come from just doing story missions, and that's something you need to do as a new player anyways, just to get all those awakening materials and viz and all that stuff. But actually doing the legendary reliquaries is very difficult, so fully unlocking him is going to be hard. But for the other characters, most of their rewards are basically just for participation. This is especially true for Veritas of the Flames. You can get Veritas of Ice and Water faster, and to a certain degree even Veritas of the Flames faster for doing well. but you get the bulk of your rewards just for doing anything at all. The only other non-gacha characters I think are particularly relevant are the ones that can be achieved in the Farplane archives. Now, especially compared to everything else, these can be built very quickly and for very little resources. The thing is, they're only really going to be good if you absolutely don't have anything else, and with how good new player banners have been, I don't think this is going to be the case for a lot of new players. But they're also really good for filling in holes on cost limited teams, especially at like cost 250. They're kind of the perfect thing to have on your team. We do have one UR unit this way, Sunil, and she's pretty good in the right setup, but I would say the Veritas units are generally better than any of these offerings by far. They're also pretty powerful in general. I would say that most of them, I'm going to be doing a top 25 of the non-limited characters in the game, and for pretty much every Veritas that can be built out currently, and maybe even especially true for the ones that are in the game but can't be built fully yet. They're pretty much like the third best unit if you don't have super relevant limited units. So they're some of the best non-limited units in the game for their elements, but also often for their job types as well. I mean, I would say Veritas of the Flames is probably very easily the strongest axe type character in the game, and Veritas of the Heavens is one of the best in terms of spear units. While Veritas of the Earth is just a really, he's going to be a staple, I think, staple tank for Earth teams, which might make him even more important for Earth, but also he's going to be a really good strike character for a lot of the same reasons. And then there's signature equipment that can be built for each of these. Once you get done fully reincarnating them, you can start, instead of buying their shards, you can start buying recipes for their unique equipments. Some of these are really easy to get, Veritas of the Heavens. Most of them are pretty hard. The best unique equipment is going to work for all of them. It's the Guardian's Crystal, and I would make it your first priority of these things, because it's probably going to be important than a lot of their other signature equipment. You can prioritize that second. And with this, their stats and their kits keep up with modern characters. They're maybe not quite as good as the newest gacha characters, but in a lot of cases, they pair really amazingly with them, and they can help you build synergies into some of them that can take them down. So they can be really important even in modern, up-to-date, and very powerful teams. And then, I would say, especially for a lot of players who might be coming in from FFBE, since this is, at least as of this October, going to be the only FFBE game still going, they might have a lot of positive nostalgia for these characters, and they have really cool designs in this game. Not only are their kits interesting strategically and just really fun, but they're also just really cool designs visually speaking as well. And for FFBE players who want that nostalgia, they're here for you. And I actually happen to be one of these players, even though I haven't played the original FFBE for a while. I am super nostalgic for these characters because they were kind of from the golden age of FFBE, and I love them so much for it. So I guess the final question is, if I've convinced you to get them, how do you get them? Well, again, they're basically participation rewards. We talked about Veritas of the Heavens earlier, and for people who've been in the game for a while, he's maybe the easiest to build because of how quickly you can get him due to the story requirements. I mean, when he came out, most of us had already done most of the story, and we could just 99 him right away. But the Legendary Reliquaries is going to be especially difficult for new players because your accounts don't run deep enough to really plow through that effectively. For Fire and in the future Light, free match, but also things like class match, anything that's on that right side in the arena, anything that's not like just the direct arena, anything that's kind of on the, I forget what it's called, but the dual side, I think? I don't know. Anything on that side can work. Friendly matches can work for this, And with class match and stuff, you can even get bonus rewards like a lot of the other stuff. But even without those bonus rewards, 15 medals a day just for participating, you can get this even if you quit the matches to get through them faster. You can build Veritas of the Flames quite fast this way, and it looks like Veritas of the Light is also going to be quite easy to build. And she should be coming out relatively soon for the JP side, so maybe a month and a half for us here on Global as of the time I'm recording this. Water and Ice are maybe some of the easier to build right now, no matter where you are in the game, because they're basically arena participation rewards. There aren't a ton of people doing arena right now. I've noticed it's a lot easier to get higher rank than it used to be, and it should be basically trivial to get within the top 5,000 if you're doing all of your basic free orbs per day, which is 5 fights, which is also going to maximize your daily benefits for these two characters. These two strategies in total should get you 95 medals for each character, which is quite good for a weekly haul. And then you have Lightning and Earth. And in some ways these are the easiest to get, but you really want to be in a high level guild. If you need a higher level guild to get into, Gasol Union, which is in the top 150, and Silkus are both my guilds, and both have openings for people. If you'd like to apply, please apply in game. We're willing to take people. Please be higher rank if you're going for that top 150 guild. We are a little bit more choosy, but basically anyone could join Silkus so long as you actually set your teams and participate. I'm happy to have anyone. But those rewards, I assume that everyone is generally, if you're playing this game, participating in guild battle, and you should get pretty good rewards. Your rewards get even better if you clear out the other team pretty well. They can kind of scale up or down depending on how much you clear them, but they're mainly based on the rank of your guild, so being in a high level guild is going to get you those rewards faster. And those can be some of the quickest and easiest and most consistent and even lowest effort to build, provided that you're in a high level guild. So with all that being said, I hope you appreciated seeing my face. Remember to like and subscribe. That's the free to play option here for YouTube. But also comment, tell me what you're thinking about this stuff, maybe some struggles that you're having as a new player, ask some questions to the community. Other players are perfectly happy to answer these questions as well. I might see you in the comments too. But I usually spend more time making videos, researching, dueling, gathering data, that kind of stuff. But also check that link in the description. I also spend some time writing. I have books available for sale. You can also check out my other YouTube channel, podcast, and other ways to donate to the channel. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.